Item 10B is adopt a resolution approving property owner notice and protest process for 2012-2013 garbage rate increase proposed by Recology San Bruno.
Step right up. Come on into the lion's den.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, my presentation this evening is to provide an overview of the revised 2012-13 garbage rate adjustment proposals provided by our franchise garbage provider, Recology San Bruno. Just to provide an overview, this item was brought forward at the meeting on February 28th. At that meeting, I presented to you the rate adjustment proposal. To recap that conversation, Recology is entitled to an interim rate adjustment this year. That interim year rate adjustment is calculated at 80% of a CPI adjustment for SF Bay Area wage earners and adds to it any allowable pass-through disposal fees. So the interim year adjustment for the current year is at 2.341%. In addition, at the request of the city, Recology provided a supplemental proposal for an organics program in San Bruno due to increasing interest from our residential and commercial customers. The cost to initiate that organics program resulted in a 9.37% increase, and that implementation would be a citywide rollout on July 1st, 2012. However, after the February 28th, 2012 meeting, at which the City Council indicated their interest in notifying property owners of a rate increase that included the organics program, some issues arose that made the implementation of the organics program on July 1st impossible. Primarily, the lead time necessary to secure the 3 new vehicles that are needed to offer the organics program is approximately 9 months. So that was the biggest issue, and in addition, it is recommended that the amount of time necessary to conduct the proper outreach and education about an organics program to our customers should be increased to ensure a successful implementation and adequate education. To accommodate these issues, Recology provided a revised rate adjustment proposal that would initiate the organics program, the rollout of the organics program on January 1st, 2013. So that adjustment proposal includes still the interim year adjustment that does not change, that 2.341% increase does not change. However, that supplemental proposal essentially takes that 9.37% increase that is needed to implement the organics program and spreads that out over 2 rate years. So for this year, due to the implementation date being in January, or the proposed implementation date being in January, half the increase would be paid in the 2012-13 rate increase of 4.69%. And then it assumes to have the organics program continue into next year, that remaining 4.68% increase would also need to be implemented in 2013-14. In addition, we would also have to implement a new rate structure for commercial and multifamily residential customers. Essentially, the commercial and multifamily customers pay a rate for garbage that is equivalent to it's based on the size of container that they use as well as the frequency of their service. If a commercial or multifamily customer decided to participate in the organics program, they could, because they are now able to separate their garbage and their organics, they could essentially possibly reduce the size of their garbage container and reduce the cost of that garbage service. So the proposed rate structure to charge for the organics program for those customers is set at a proposed rate of 75% of the cost of the garbage service. And that is a rate structure that has been implemented in some neighboring agencies. This next slide just highlights the information that was included in the agenda packet, and shows the rate of the 32 gallon, which is the most common container size for residential customers. The rate today is $23.78. The interim rate adjustment increase of 2.341% results in a 56-cent increase, brings the rate to $24.34. And if the additional supplemental proposal for the organics program, the revised proposal of 4.69% is implemented, that results in a total increase of $1.70. So essentially there are given these new considerations that have been presented to you this evening, Council is being asked to approve a revised new resolution that would authorize staff to proceed with mailing the property owner notice based on this revised rate proposal. There are two options available for this rate increase mailing. The first would be the proposed increase, that's been the revised proposal that's before you tonight, of 7.14%, which includes the interim year adjustment of 2.341%, as well as the organics program to begin on January 1st, 2013, the 4.69%. The second option available is to proceed with notifying property owners of the proposed interim year adjustment of 2.341% only, and direct staff to work with Recology on a future implementation of the organics program. And another strategy that could be considered, we've discussed at this point, is citywide rollout to residential and commercial customers at the same time. We could consider doing a phased-in rollout where we begin with a rollout to commercial customers and then later to residential customers, and also to begin working on education and public outreach program to better inform the customer base about this future program. So that concludes my presentation for the evening. Recology General Manager Kirsten Pionoki is also here to answer any questions that you might have about this revised rate proposal.
Any questions of staff? Ken?
Through the chair. Regarding commercial and multi-residential, in the staff report it says they're interested in participating. I'll get back to that, but regardless of whether they're interested or not, is the rate increase for organics included in their rates also?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So my question now is, why do they get the option of participating or not? Why doesn't, because residents don't get the option of participating. They're paying the rates and everything. So why don't we mandate that everyone participates?
Well, essentially this proposal does mandate the program in that the rate increase is applied across the board to both commercial rates and residential rates. For those commercial customers and multifamily customers, there is an additional rate structure necessary for them to pay an additional amount to participate in the organics program.
So it's their choice. Yeah, they can improve their rates, or they can reduce their rates if they actually do participate. But they're still helping pay for the program.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Irene?
Okay, thank you. When you say citywide, are you including government offices, city offices, and schools?
Yes, everybody who is currently charged as a commercial customer whose rates are based in that proposal would be included. Those rate increases would also see those rate increases.
Okay, so with the schools, which I would think would produce probably the most volume of compostable materials, are they going to have a special encouragement, or do they need to be directed to do this, or do they just pay the increased rate and ignore it? What happens, and what can we do?
Well, that's a policy decision that if there was a decision to decide to make an incentive program for schools or certain types of entities to participate in the program, a rate structure could be adopted or to reflect the type of program, but that's not included in the rate proposal that's before you tonight.
So if the goal of this is to reduce our landfill to reduce what we put in the landfill, And even though we increase the rates, if we don't require especially people or organizations that produce a lot of compostable material, nothing much may happen. I mean, what has Recology done in the past to ensure that things happen? If you just don't, I've heard several people say, well, I don't care, I'll pay whatever I need to pay, but I'm not going to compost. So if the goal is to get less landfill, what are we going to do about it? And what can we do about it?
Kirsten?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. There's a lot that Recology can do within public outreach and with our Waste Zero specialists going out and educating those entities such as schools and multifamilies to encourage. Without a mandate in place, we can't make them subscribe to organics or even recycling for that matter, but we can educate them to the fullest extent within our power. We can't. Without a mandate in place, we can't make them do it. What we can do is we perform waste audits on some of those entities and kind of show them in photographs and layouts that this is what's in your garbage and this is what the portion that can actually be diverted out of the landfill and go and be processed as organics or be recyclable material. So we can just kind of present it to them in a way to show them this is what you're doing. You're putting all this into the landfill and all this can be diverted.
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you. I wanted to suggest to the council that we defer the organics program and do a little more research. And I try to do some research on my own, just focusing on the real benefit. And from what I read, studies they've done in other cities, the tangible benefit from doing this is a reduction in methane gas that's released into the atmosphere. So if you take these things, if you recycle them rather than just dump them out there, you somehow reduce methane gas. But that's also offset by the amount of carbon that's produced by the trucks that you put on the road to collect the garbage. And so what I'm curious, and what we might be able to gather more information on is if we were to find out the real interest from the residents on who would participate and what they would estimate the volume of that would be, then we could come up with a methane number, perhaps, that we could compare against putting 3 trucks that would be circling the city every week. That's double what we have right now for the yard waste trucks. So we'd have twice as many making their rounds. And we don't know what people will put into this organics bucket, but we do know that these trucks are going to be producing a set amount of carbon every week in the city, in our neighborhoods, and also contributing to little traffic jams in the morning when you have to wait to get around them. So I would just make the recommendation that we maybe do a little more research, understand what the real benefit is, because, I mean, we know there's a cost. We know there's a negative environmental impact. And just, I'd like to know a little bit more about what the positive is before we introduce that.
Good
Yes?
evening, council members. Jacqueline Monroy. I reside in Pacifica, but I'm a student in Skyline College. And at the moment, we have the environmental science class, service learning service. In that class, and we're trying to do a project. We're trying to do a project on how to improve our community and our school. And I'm doing on compost, organic. And I talked to Richard Iniguchi, which is the maintenance supervisor, and he's been trying to push this for our school, you know, trying to get compost, because we do need it. There's a lot of food waste and all this stuff, food scraps that could actually go to compost instead of going to landfills. And like she said that they give us that audit. They give us the audits on how much trash and garbage or waste has been done by the last year. And we do believe that we can actually put a small program or a small compost and show them and teach the children, the students on compost. And there's a lot of people that are involved and want to be involved on teaching the community on how to do it. And I do believe that this is a very big step for trying to lessen the impact on our world, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Kirsten, question. I know Recology has rolled out organics in a number of other cities. Have you done any research? Do you have the types of numbers for those other cities regarding carbon infiltration versus methane gas and those types of things?
No.
Okay. I know I at the subcommittee level, I was the one that said, hey, what's the story with organics? Let's get rolling. I know Michael had a little bit of problem with it, and more simply because of the economy and the charge at that point in time. But I do have to agree with him at this point in time. I think it's too premature to set this in motion from, first of all, a cost standpoint, because I heard a lot of grief the last couple of weeks, but also from a practical standpoint. I think there has to be a cost and a benefit for that cost, and I think we need a little more research. So how we go about that, I'm not quite sure, but I'd sure like to see some questions out there, some research done, and some results presented to the council so that we have a real, at least a much better understanding of the cost versus the benefit of what what we were about to do.
We can do that.
Through the chair. I, at the last meeting too, voted no, along with Councilmember Salazar, for the economics and the concern of what I didn't even know until, subsequently, the water and waste, and adding this. I think it's an important program. I'm not trying to underscore that. I just feel, and again, I couldn't have said it as well as you did, Councilmember, but as far as the information that you're requesting, it's not that it's not important. It's just, and I know we are going to pay the rates up here, and Councilmember O'Connell will say that, we're all going to pay the rates. But I'm not worried about us right up here. I'm worried about those folks in our community, the ability to pay all these rate increases. That's what I'm worried about. So I also would opt for option 2, which is the 2.341% only. My comments from last meeting on this are for the same reason.
Good.
Through
Any
the-
comments?
Through the chair.
Irene?
Kirsten, would it be possible, and you probably, I don't know if you can answer it right now, but maybe working with Skyline College and some of the other schools, start a type of pilot program where they can compost, and maybe just take that and add it to another city's, so you don't need another truck for here, deposit it with Burlingames or Millbraes or something, so that, and I hate leaving Skyline College out when there's an interest and some good education that can happen. So maybe there's something that we can do in the interim if we don't do citywide composting right now. And I really would like us to, maybe we can do a survey or something in the next focus or online or some kind of public outreach on who exactly is interested in doing this and how it would benefit everyone, as well as educating. And I really think we need to get the schools on board. They're such a massive producer of compostable materials that we really need to get them going. So those are my comments.
Okay, Kev?
Yeah, and I'm just going to chime in. I want to be the salesperson for this also. And I voted yes because I wanted to be a better environmentalist, and I know it's coming, and I know it's the right thing. But I think I know we can't put the cart. It's not necessarily the cart before the horse, but I don't know what it all entails. And I mean, you can show me a video and show, this is what the good thing about organics is, and this is what communities are doing and how it helps, and that'll go a long way. And I think not putting it off for years, but maybe we do a 6 months to a year of education, and get the community involved and get them on track so that we don't have to take the calls and saying, what is this all about? So I think it's prudent.
Okay. Any more discussion or action by the council?
If there's any other questions, no, I'll introduce the resolution with option.
Can I
B.
just quickly,
Yes.
sorry to
Sure,
interrupt.
sorry.
One thing I forgot to mention, so option 2, the proposed resolution that was included in the packet, some changes would be made for option 2. So there's two references to the initiation of the organics program and the creation of the new rate structure. Those would be removed from the resolution, and a reference to the council's interest at the February 28th meeting would also be added, just for the record.
Okay, that sounds good. So with those conditions, I again introduce the resolution for approval.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ibarra.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.